movement is a fun and important aspect to Dead by Daylight, and there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with it, so make sure to stick around because I'll cover most movement related stuff to DBD. I've got something for both beginners and for more experienced players, so I split the video into different sections so you can just skip to the part you want to learn more about. I've got it listed with timestamps in the description. Anyways, I'm Elendi. I've got around 2k hours in DBD, and I'm very interested in movement, as you can tell. Just a quick disclaimer before I start the video. Most of these tips goes for both mouse and keyboard and controller players, but stuff like moonwalking I can't cover for controller because I don't know how to moonwalk with a controller, so let's get into the video. We're starting it off rather simple with the window vacuums. So window vacuums are just like the name says, you vacuum into the window. So you're basically supposed to aim elsewhere with your character model. So it's gonna look like you're not going for the vault, but you're heading towards a pallet or something else in that regard. So in Shack, for example, you head towards the pallet with your character model, so you face that way while you run towards the window. So you kind of just vacuum into the window like that. I can show you once again. So you head towards the pallet, and once you get like in between those, you just vacuum into it. Shack might not be the best example, but there's different tiles you can use this on. So window techs. Window techs are a bit harder to pull off than a window vacuum, but it's way more useful to use in chase. You can get like 1 or 2 extra loops out of whatever loop you're on if you manage to pull it off. And you're basically making scratch marks in another direction like that, and then you run through the killer, so they're gonna think you ran around Shack as I did on screen, but actually I went through them. And from their field of view, they're not going to be able to see you when you run through them if you pull it off correctly. So they're going to think you went the way the scratch marks are heading. And you can see once again on screen, when the second foot hits ground, you're supposed to run through them, just like that. I'll show you on screen. So when I click my flashlight in this clip, that's when you're supposed to run through them. When the second foot hits the ground, that's the timing. You can see once again now, boom. That's when you're supposed to run through. So it might take some practicing, but you'll get it down. So 360s. 360s are maybe one of the basics of juking. It's one of the first things you should learn if you want to get good at movement. So basically you run in a circle. It's pretty straightforward. So you go either WASD or WDSA, as you can see now. Whatever way you feel comfortable with. I suggest getting good at both, so you've got more options in game. But yeah, you just do either WASD or WDSA. And once you get comfortable with that, you can start using camera movement as well. So you can use a mouse, and when you do WASD, you move your mouse to the right. So you're able to go faster with the WESA basically. And if you go WDSA, you move your camera to the left, so you move your mouse to the left. Once you've mastered that, you can move on to something called flicking. And when you press the D button, if you do WASD, you basically flick your camera to the right, so you flick your mouse to the right when you press D. And as you can see right now, it creates a cool effect. It can throw the killer off with extra momentum. And if you do it the other way around, you're supposed to flick your mouse to the left when you press A. I'm not as fast that way, as you can tell. I'm way more comfortable to the right. But yeah, that's basically how you flick. You can use this whenever you want. It's more of a flex, but it can gain you extra momentum in that 360. So you can do different types of 360s. You see I did a flick one there, and you can also fake doing a 360 if he's afraid of being 360s. And you can also click your beam it, like I did there, to get more momentum into your 360, let's say. And you can also use objects such as the famous fire barrel to give the killer auto aim. So they hit the fire barrel instead of you. especially console players have a lot of auto aim, so you can abuse that. And stuff like trees and rocks, as you can see there, you can 360 around that to make them auto aim, or just crates. Like any kind of objects creates auto aim for the killer, which can throw them off. Moving on from 360s, we've got something called RekTech, and it's basically a 360 where you just use either A or D. You don't do the WASD, but you follow your characters back with your camera, and it creates this cool effect. So as you can see on screen, you can also do W and A like that to make it look a bit different, or W and D like that. So it's basically a 360 with less momentum into it, so it's just to look cool, right? Alright, I got this cool little thing I found, and I call it the spin cancel, or Elendi Tech, like whatever you want to call it. But as you can see, you basically half spin around the corner while you keep your camera on the back of your character. And it's meant to throw killers like Onis or Blights off with sharp turns around the corner, which they won't expect because they think you're going to go into a 360 like that. But you cancel it halfway through and spin back sort of around the corner, which none of them will expect. I mean, it's very hard to pull off, and I don't suggest trying it in-game, but it's just a cool little thing I found. So the corner tech, I think this is something we've all done before. It's kind of a beginner trick, but it's fun nonetheless. So you basically just hide behind the corner mid-chase, and the killer's gonna think you kept on running while you were hiding. It's just a fun little thing you can do. Flashlight turns. I'll keep this one short and simple, because it is. You basically click with your beamer whenever you turn, so you're gonna get much faster, like quicker and sharper turns than you usually would. This can throw off killers like Onis, Blights, Hillbillies, whatever. And yeah, that's why I love beamers basically, you can do so much with them. Alright, so for the emote cancel, you're gonna have to bind your emotes to scroll wheel up and scroll wheel down. This makes it possible to emote while you run. So you're supposed to emote while you run over the pallet to get this stutter animation, which makes it look like you're about to drop the pallet, and you can catch some killers off guard and you might gain like 1 or 2 extra loops just because of that emote cancel. And yeah, that's basically how the Emote Tech works in practice. So we're moving on to Moonwalks. Moonwalks are where people start facing difficulties, but they're not as hard as people make them to be. You basically just start off by pressing AD, 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 AD. Not as fast as you think, but keep a good rhythm. And then once you're ready, just press W and you'll be moonwalking in no time. It might take you some days or weeks to learn it, but it's gonna come quite fast compared to other movement related stuff. So you just go AD, AD, AD and press W once you're ready and get the rhythm down. There's different types of ways to catch a moonwalk. I suggest going for a wind up. You basically do a small 360 and catch the moonwalk mid 360 and go W and tap AD, 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 AD. You can curve while moonwalking as well, but that will be at the end of this guide. But you can also just start off by standing still. Like, whichever way you prefer. There's a lot of different ways to start off a moonwalk, but it's quite simple. Moving on to reverse moonwalks, they are basically the same as a regular one, but you go in reverse, so you hold S instead of W and have your camera face the back of your character instead of the front. So you just go AD, AD, AD and add S upon that, and then you're reverse moonwalking. That's basically how it works. You can start it up by doing a click with your flashlight. That's my favorite way to do it, because you can do it on demand with a lot of momentum. But you can also start it up, as I showed you earlier, with a small wind up. And just go hold S and go AD, AD, AD after the wind up, and you're then reverse moonwalking. Alright, so diagonal moonwalks are way harder. You basically use 2 keys, so either W and A or W and D to go diagonally. And I find the rhythm to be faster on this one than regular moonwalks. You gotta go a bit faster to keep it consistent, but That's basically how you perform a diagonal moonwalk. I can't do a very long one because I'm not good at them, but that's basically how they work. So now we're at Ayrun Teching, and here is where you gotta start using mouse movement a lot more. And I find this being quite difficult because I haven't practiced it a lot. As you can see, I get quite frustrated from it. But yeah, you basically follow your camera with your character model, as you can see on screen, and you can go at whatever speed you want to. You basically do a reverse moonwalk, but whenever you press A, you move your mouse to the left, and whenever you press D, you move your mouse to the right with your character. And yeah, you can go quickly like that, or you can move slow and do wide turns, as you can see now. The Ayrun Tech is quite useful against killers like Hillbilly, Deathslinger, Oni, Andreas, because you create 50-50s, because you can tap out of the Ayrun Tech at any time and they won't know, and you can make them miss. So now we got the reverse Ayrun Tech, and they are essentially the same as Ayrun Tech, as you can see on screen. But instead of keeping the camera on your back as you do during an Ayrun Tech, you keep it on the front of your character. So it's essentially in reverse, just like the name says. Now I'm not very good at these, so I'll try my best to show you. But just keep in mind that whenever you turn right, you take your mouse to the left. So if you press D, you take your mouse to the left, and if you press A, you take your mouse to the right. So everything is in reverse this way around. As you can see on screen, that's sort of what it looks like. Now, I just learned these, so I'm not good at them, but that's the best examples I've got for now. Next up, we've got the Sideways Moonwalk. Now, I'm not very good at these, but I'll try my best to show you. I learned them for the video per se, but what's important is that you keep your camera to the side of your character, like not in front, but be on the side of your character model. Not with any angle, but like that. Now you go WS, 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 and when you're ready, you press D. Now, to make it easier for yourself, I don't suggest moving your camera a lot. If you find the correct angle, just test it out a bit and see how it goes for you. Just experiment with it, and the more you practice it, the better you'll get. This is what I managed to do in about 15 minutes of trying to learn this. But yeah, you basically go WS, WS while you hold sprint, of course, and then you press D to start moving away from the spot you're on. For the dada jump, I don't have a lot of examples because they recently patched some of them, including the one on Haddonfield. But basically, on Modest Dwelling, there's this spot where you can dead-out over to the other platform, and you make the killer fall down because they try to punch you. And yeah, basically you make the killer look dumb while you dead-out over to the other side. It's quite fun to do, but you won't do it as often as other jukes. So for the dead-out usage, you normally just want to use your dead-out for distance to either pallets or windows. But in emergency situations, you can use stuff like this. So if you're getting chased, see you're about to go down, you can stop, dead out, and make it look like you're about to give up, and then they swing. I don't suggest using that, but it's an option. You can also like taunt the killer with an emote and make them swing. Or maybe if you've got a beamer, you can run and click at them, and then dead out towards them. To like confuse them with their FOV, basically. We've also got the famous dumb tech, as you all know. So basically, you just stun the killer, vault the pallet, and you're gonna make them look dumb by punching the air. That's why it's named the dumb tech. Also, it's quite dumb to do, so it might come from that as well. You can also do this variation where after you stun the killer, you just sit inside them and they're gonna think you dump tech them, but then you just vault back like a maniac. You can mess with their FOV even further, so after they break a pallet, you can run into them, turn around, they're gonna think you ran past them. Or in another situation, you can actually run through them once they break the pallet, as you can see. Then you head for either a pallet or a vault. And if that doesn't work out, then I guess you're kind of screwed, because this is quite dumb to do. We've also got the famous JRM tech, where you just go sit inside the killer after getting hit. And it's very risky to do, but it's fun nonetheless, so try it out. For the most complicated part of the video, we've got turning while moonwalking and comboing or chaining movement, whatever you want to call it, so yeah, let's get into it. Now for turning and curving while moonwalking, you definitely gotta put in some time, because it's not an easy thing to do, and you gotta put in a lot of practice to get it done consistently. I'll try my best to explain it to you. So it's important to have a high field of view, so keep the camera up top so you get a better view of the environment where you plan to go and your character model. It just makes it easier in general to curve from my experience. So if you curve to the left, you're gonna press your D button more than you press your A button, while you make small adjustments with your mouse to keep track of the front of your character model. And if you want to go to the right, let's say, you press A more than you would press D, and the same there, you make small adjustments with your mouse to keep track of your survivor model. So let's say I want to go around that rock, I'm going to press D more than I would press A. Let me try to show you. So you go like that. Yeah, that wasn't a good one. This should do. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I press D more than I press A, so I'm able to turn left while I make small adjustment with my mouse. And let's say I'll want to go around that rock, I'm gonna have to press A more than I would press D while I make these micro adjustments with my mouse. Now I've got quite high sensitivity, so I don't do a whole lot of movement with my mouse, but it kind of depends on your DPI. Now if you want to curve sharp angles, you're gonna have to press down your button more, as you can see on screen. Like when I went through that hole there between those two rocks there, I had to press down my A button way more than I would otherwise, because it was kind of a sharp turn. And this is kind of like what's possible once you get down curving. You can basically curve around any objects you can find in DBD, as long as it doesn't have like some sort of weird hitbox and collision. But yeah, you can basically curve around whatever you want. You just practice it, and creativity is kind of what stops you. Talking about creativity, we've got something called chaining, or comboing as I enjoy calling it. This is where you put together all the moves you managed to learn into one sort of chain movement, or a freestyle, let's say. And what stops you in this area is basically your creativity. This is one I did, I guess. But yeah, you can just put together all these different movements you've learned, and what caps you is your creativity, so just go and have fun with it. Now, a combo I enjoy doing is implementing RekTechs into my Ayrun Techs, as you can see on screen. So you basically just Ayrun Tech, and when you feel comfortable, just go into a RekTech, and you can chain these together and do multiple of them. You don't need to do a full RekTech, you can stop halfway through and continue with your Ayrun Tech, so they work very well together, and it can throw some killers off guard, I guess. Oh shit, yeah, my ping ain't the best, but that's not the point, is it? You can also do kind of simple ones. You can do a reverse moonwalk into a dead-eye, and it can make some killers swing at you because they think you're just flexing on them, but yeah, just test it out and see how it goes for you. Another combo I enjoy using is a diagonal into a 360. Now, this rarely works. Hold on, let me try again. But when you pull it off, it feels hella good. There's also simpler ones you can try out. You can do the one where you just run and look back and do a flashlight turn, like one of those fast turns I told you about. And yeah, it can carry a lot of momentum into your 360, and it will be sort of an upgraded 360, let's say. But yeah, you can just mess around with it, see how it goes for you. But yeah, that's basically it for this movement guide. If you feel like I missed something, or you've got any questions surrounding movement, feel free to ask in the comment section, and I'll do my best to clear things up for you. Now, I know I'm not the best at explaining things, but hey, I did my best and it's my first attempt ever at making sort of a guide. But if you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I just want to say thank you for watching.